Hello everyone, welcome back to the second part of Paging library tutorial. If you haven't seen the first part, I highly recommend watching it first so you can follow with us. In this second part, you will learn how to paginate data from a remote data source. To achieve this, let's go to the repository under the data layer and create a new package, call it Pagination. Or Paging, you can call it whatever you want. So here I'm going to create, in the data layer repository, a new package. I'm going to call it Paging. Here I'm going to group all the classes that's going to allow us to page, whether from a paging source, a remote paging source, or a local paging source. So it's called Paging. So inside the Paging package, I'm going to create a new class, TV show remote paging source. So the class TV show remote paging source is the class that's going to allow us to achieve this pagination feature. So first of all, this class should inherit from a class called paging source. So the class paging source is an abstract class that provides paging capability from different sources, such as whether it's a remote data source or a local data source. So this class has two parameter types. The first one, which is, we're gonna call it a key. The key represents a page number if set to integer. If it's set to string, it will represent the next page token. So I don't know, perhaps your API supports the page token as a string. So here you have to put string as a type. Otherwise, generally speaking, pretty much all the API supports integers. Our API does have page number as integer. We're going to put here integer. And second parameter value is the data type that will be loaded. In our case, we want to expose the DTOs to the view model. So we will map it to a model. And the model in our case, which is TV show. So this is the data that will be loaded. And let's import TV show. Or TV show, yeah. So here, going to implement the members. We have two main actions or main functions that we have to implement. So first of all, we need here as a dependency, a private val, which is going to be the API. And the first function, which is get refresh key. So what is the purpose of get refresh key? Get refresh key will give, according to our needs, the key that will cause the load method to be triggered with enough data. So this load method will give us enough data to fill in our model or our mobile screen. If this method returns null or set to null, the load method will decide the appropriate key to be used. So in our case, we don't want this behavior. We have to explicitly give the position of the page. So here we will do return state that's anchor position. So states that's anchor position, or generally speaking, what is paging state? Paging state will give us the most recent snapshot of the loaded page. And the anchor position will give us the most recent accessed index. So we have to implement now the load method. So the load method is the method responsible for loading the data. First of all, we have to specify the current page. So let's declare a new value, call it current page. And we can obtain the current page from the parameter params. So params.key. When doing that, we will obtain the current page. But the parameter params.key can be nullable. If the param key is not null, we're going to assign it to current page. Otherwise, we will give it the value 1. And here we have to store in the value response the API call. So it's going to be API.get TV shows. Here is response. And the page will be the current page that we have calculated. And we have to test whether we have reached the end of pagination. So it will be end of pagination reached. So the end of pagination reached is a value that's going to be whether true or false from the response that we have obtained from the API call. And of course, let's come back to the syntax or declaration of this method. This method is going to allow us to retrieve a list of something if the list is empty, which means that we have reached the end of pagination. So finally, we will return the results. So here we're going to construct the results, but we have two possibilities. If we have successfully obtained the current page, and in case of any error, we have to catch that error and give it to the user, for example, to show it in the screen. So here we're going to surround this block with try catch. It's going to be an exception of type exception. So we have to provide here a result, a load result. So the load result, it can be the page itself or an error. So let's start with the error. So in case of any error, we will do load result, that's error, and the error will be the exception that we have cached. Here we have to, of course, construct our page. So it's going to be load result, that's page. And the first parameter will be the data that belongs to this particular page. So it will be response. And as we have obtained from the get TV shows a TV show DTO, we have to map it to match the syntax and the declaration of our TV show remote pagination source or paging source. So here I'm going to do response.map every element to a TV show. And we have to specify the previous key. What do we mean with previous key? Which is the previous page. So the previous page will be if the current page equal 1. So if we are in the first page, there is no previous page. So we will return null. Otherwise, we will return the current page -1 because we are talking about previous page. So now we have to calculate the next page or the next key. So if we have reached the end of pagination, we are no longer talking about any next page. It does not exist. So it has to return null. Otherwise, it will be the current page +1. Great. So this is how to do a simple pagination using a remote data source or paging source. So I'm going to recap. The TV show remote paging source will be a class that inherits from paging source. And this paging source is the abstract class that's going to construct the pages to be shown during pagination. So the first method that we have to implement, which is get refresh key, it's going to give us the latest position of the key. Otherwise, if set to null, it will be calculated automatically. And the load method, it's the method that's going to allow us to load the data from the API or any paging source, whether API or whether we can also here, instead of using response as a API call, we can use it from the database or any local data source. So get refresh key will trigger the load method to give us enough information to fill the screen size with data. So inside the load method, we have, of course, to provide the value of the current page. We can obtain it from the parameter params.key. If it's null, the current page, it will be 1. Otherwise, it will be the params.key. And we call the API, we do the API call and start in response. And we test if we have reached the end of pagination. If there is any error, we will return the load result.error with the exception cached. And for a success case, we will return the load result.page. So that the load result.page will construct for us the page that will be provided to our repository, for example. And we have to provide the data. So the data will be the response. We're going to map it to TV show because we don't want to expose DTOs to view model. And we have to calculate the previous page. If we are in the current page, which is the current page of value 1, there is no previous page. Otherwise, it will be the current page -1 with the same thing using the end of pagination reached. If we have reached the end of pagination, which means the response, the list of the data is empty, we will return null. Otherwise, it's going to be the current page +1. So this is basically how to use or how to implement a paging source. So I'm going to show you now how to implement use cases, because it's a very good thing to know. So inside the use case layer, I'm going to add, first of all, an interface declaring our needed functions in this tutorial. So here I'm going to add a new interface. I'm going to call it TV show repository. So the first function, it will be a function. Let's call it get TV shows. It will have in parameter the page size. So basically the page size will be how many items should be loaded in a single page. So I'm going to write here, as of this tutorial, I like to write some small documentation for my functions. So get the list of TV shows with pagination from a remote data source. So this is the description of my function. Here I'm going to do the parameter of my function will be page size of an integer type. This will represent the amount of TV shows to load or to be loaded per page. And this function will return a flow of of paging source or paging data, and this is a little bit confusing at this point. So here I'm going to do just like this, and here it will be a TV of type, of course, TV show. So in the declaration, it will be a flow of paging data of TV show. Let's import flow. So this is the first function. The second function will be the function that we have used and we have declared in the API. It will be get TV show detail. So it's going to be a suspending function, get TV show detail, and the ID as long value, and with a resource. So resource is going to be a function that a helper class that we will create afterwards. So resource of TV show detail model. So first of all, let's create the resource helper function or resource sealed class. This is a helper class that's going to encapsulate loading state, success state, and error state. So I'm not going to enter in detail what it does. So it will have as a parameter the data that will be loaded, otherwise it's going to be null, and an error in case of any error. And we distinguish between 3 states. The success state, we have successfully obtained the data. Otherwise, it's going to be loading states. We're still waiting for the data. And the error in case we have any problem during requesting the data from API. And let's import here the resource. By the way, this resource class, I have explained it in detail in my first tutorial of this channel, I think. And now I'm going to show you how to implement use cases. So inside the use case layer, I'm going to add a new class. So the first use case will correspond of the function get TV show. And here we have to do get TV shows, not get TV show. So as I said before, a use case is a single function that a user can do. In our case, get TV shows is a function that a user can do, which is scroll and get more data. So this is the first use case, and it's gonna be a class with the same name of the function get TV shows. So get TV shows. So the class get TV shows will have as a private member or a dependency, it will be the repository. So to use the class TV shows as a function, we have to override the operator function invoke. So here I'm going to put operator function invoke. And for the syntax of this function should be the same as this, the implementation or the definition of this function, get TV shows. So get TV shows will have a page size. So I'm going to put here page size as well. And for the return type of this function, it will be flow, paging data, and TV show. So it's the same thing here. It's gonna be flow with paging data and TV show. And simply this function will return repository dot get TV shows, and to get TV shows is the function that we have defined in this interface. And we have finally to provide page size will be the page size. So in a real application, we're going to use this class as follow: get TV shows with page size, for example, page size equal 5. So when doing that, we're going to invoke this class as, or we're going to call this class as a function. This is how we do use cases. Let's create another use case with the same principle. It's going to be called get TV show detail. And instead of G lowercase, it's going to be G with uppercase. And with the same thing, it will have a dependency of a repository. And we have to override the function invoke. So it's going to be a suspending function. So operator invoke. So with the same syntax that we have done here, we have to provide the ID as long. And a return type, it will be a resource of TV show detail. So it will return the repository dot get TV show and ID equal the ID. So those are the two use cases for now. And I'm going to create a new data class that's going to group for us all the use cases so we can easily inject them in the view model. So it's going to be a data class. I'm gonna call it TV show. Okay, TV show use cases. So the first use case will be get TV show of type get TV show. And the other one will be get TV show detail of type get TV show. So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it concerning the use cases. Now we have to show Health how to inject those this TV show use case. So first of all, we're going to show how to provide the repository. That's going to be singleton, and here I'm going to call a function provides TV show repository, and as a dependency, we have to provide here an API, and it will return TV show repository interface. So simply, it will give us a return, and here we're not going to get the TV show repository directly, but we have to get the TV show repository implementation. So the implementation will be under the repository package. So here for the repository implementation, it will have a private val API of type API as a dependency. And I'm going to come back to this declaration, and I have to do here TV show repository implementation and API equal API. So here we have shown Health how to provide the repository implementation, and of course it has to inherit here from repository or TV show repository interface, and we need to implement all the members. Next, we have to show Health how to provide the use cases. So the use case will be done as follow. Let's call a function here provides TV show use cases, and as a dependency, this function will have the repository, not the implementation, but the interface, and it will give us a TV show use cases. This function will return, of course, TV show use case. For the first value, get TV show, it will be, or get TV shows, it will be get TV show class that we have created as a use case. Get TV shows, and the repository will be repository. With the same thing, get TV show or get TV show detail will be get TV show detail, which is the use case that we have provided or we have created. It will be repository as well. And we now ready to inject the TV show directly, or TV show use cases, without the repository and without the implementation, directly to the view model anywhere in any view model. Now we have to implement the two functions getTVShows and getTVShow detail. So let's start with getTVShows. For the implementation of this function, we will use the TvShow remote paging source that we have implemented before. So here we will have to return flow of paging data of TvShow. And here it will be pager. So this is how to use the TvShow remote pagination. It will return a pager, and we have to provide some configurations. So the first parameter will be config. And here we're going to provide some configurations. We do care here only about the page size. So paging config, and page size will be page size that we'll provide from the function as a parameter. And that's pretty much it. And the other parameter for pager, it will be the source of the data. So page or paging source factory, it will be. So here it will be the TvShow remote paging source, and we have to provide here API equal API. That's pretty much it. And here we have to return a flow. So the pager has a flow member. So we're going just to call flow here, and we are done. So basically this is the implementation of getTVShows. So I'm going to recap what we have done so far. So of course, to construct the data, we have to implement TvShow remote pagination that has to extend, and to implement paging source, it will provide integer as a page a key type, and for the value it's going to be TvShow. So the implementation is pretty straightforward. Afterwards, in your repository or wherever, you have to construct the pager to be used as a source of data. In our case, we're going to precise here the page size, which is 10 or 5 elements per page. And the source of data will be the TvShow remote paging source that we have implemented. And we need real-time updates for the data. So we have to call the .flow to return the flow of data. That's it. So I'm going to leave this function for now empty, and let's implement the model or the view model. So inside the presentation, I will create here a view model and a composable. So it's going to be home view model. So the home view model, of course, it's going to be a health view model, and it will have here in parameter private val, we have to inject here the TvShow use cases. And let's create a composable for this home page. It's going to be called home screen, and that's pretty much it. So let's start implementing first of all the home view model. So first of all, I'm going to create here a observable for the list of TvShows, or the paged list of TvShows. So it's going to be a mutable state flow. I'm going to call it TvShow or TvShows state. It's going to be of type paging data of TvShow. So first of all, let's import mutable state flow. And of course, paging library provides us with an empty value. So here it's going to be paging data that's empty as an initial state or initial value. And during init function, we will call a view model scope, and we will launch a coroutine scope. And here I'm going to call TvShow use case. And if you have noticed here, we have the functions. We can use here the member getTVShows as a function by implementing the operator invoke that we have done before. And here we have to provide the page size. So the page size, I'm going to create it as a constant. So I'm going to come back to the constant file, and here I'm going to add a new value, call it page size. Let's give it 5, for example. And I will do here distinct until changed. So this function distinct until changed will return a flow by filtering all the data with the same value. let's call cached in view model scope. So what it does, basically, we are caching the data in the view model scope. So cached in should be called the last. You shouldn't do, for example, it's not good. So you have to call it at the final instruction. And finally, we have to get or set the value of TV show state to the collected values. So here it will be TV show state dot value equal it. That's pretty much it. And we are done implementing the home view model. So let's come back to the home screen. And first of all, this home screen will have as a dependency home view model. And we will start listening to the list of TV shows. So it will be TV show states or TV shows states equal view model dot TV shows state. And here we have a special function created by the Pagination library that's going to collect for us the values. It's called collect as lazy Pagination items. And let's construct the page as shown here on your right. So it's going to be a lazy column. For the horizontal alignment, it's going to be alignment center horizontally. And for the vertical arrangement, it will be arrangement dot space by. We're going to space each element by an amount of density pixels. Let's give it, for example, 25 dp. So space equal 25 dp. And let's give a modifier for this column, or for this lazy column. Modifier for the padding, let's give all equal 8. And it's gonna fill the max size. So the first element will be an item. So it's gonna be an image. All right, for the paint resource, so it's gonna be r.drawable. And let's import first of all our object. Come on, it's gonna be I think let's come back to the resource files. Drawables. I want to show. Let's see this one. I'm gonna show this drawable. So it's gonna be TV menu. Content description is gonna be empty string. And let's give it an alignment. There is no need for alignment actually. And a modifier equal a modifier. And let's give it a required width of 120 and a padding of 8 dp at the top. I'm going to do here more than 8. I'm going to do 12 dp. And let's reformat the code. So the second element will be the list of items. So here we will do items. And for the items, it will be the TV show state. Let's import items. And for a TV show, we will create for it a composable. So the composable here, it will be a TV show item, but before that we have to provide here the keys. So to distinguish between one item with a key, so it will be key with lambda function, it.id. So for each one, so let's do it because it's nullable, and this is the TV show. So for each TV show, it's going to be a composable. Let's call it TV show item. So obviously this TV show item will have a TV show as a parameter. We'll provide for it a modifier, and we want to achieve when we click on a specific item, we will do something, or we will perform an action. So on click, and we will implement this composable. I will create here a new composable. I'm gonna call it TV show item. So as we said before, it's gonna have a TV show item. It will have a modifier with a default value of a modifier, and on click function. So as shown here, it consists of a row. So it will be a modifier of a modifier. It will fill the max width, and it will be a clickable row. And here we will call on click, and we have to identify each element with an ID. So it's going to be TV show dot ID, and we will do here long as parameter. And of course, we need to add here a horizontal arrangement, and let's arrange, or let's space each element with, let's say, for example, 8 dp. That's pretty much it for the row. So this, the first element of this row, it's gonna be a card. So let's give it a modifier with modifier fill max height. It's gonna occupy, of course, the max height as shown in the image. And let's specify the width. So fill max width with the fraction of, let's say, 0. Not this too much, 35 or 35% will do. And what's inside? Okay, first of all, let's get rid of the some decoration for the card. For the shape, it will be material theme dot shapes dot large. And for the elevation, let's give it, for example, I'm not going to get in detail how to code the network image. It's gonna be provided for you in this course. Here I'm going just to, instead of modifier, it's going to be the modifier that we have created. So for the network image, it's going to allow us to show image from the URL. So I'm going to use it directly in the card. So here it's going to be network image. So for the URL, it will be tvshow.image.medium because it is a thumbnail. The second parameter will be a content scale, crop. For the modifier, it will be a modifier. It's just fill the max size. So for the loading indicator, it will be simple circular progress indicator on error. So the error that will be shown if we have failed, if it's the request failed to load the image. It's gonna be simply an icon. So let's import icon. And for the painter resource, it will be painter resource. And the R, we have to, of course, import again R. It's okay, so I'm just gonna keep writing the code. So drawable, and drawable will be the IC circular info solid. And for the content description, it will be simply an empty string. And let's add the tint color, which is the color of the icon. It will be red, I think it's red light or something like that. Let me see on the colors file. Okay, it's under, we have to, of course, I have to override those colors. So I just replace those colors with those particular colors. And here I will do, let's do red lights. And that's pretty much it for the cards. So this is the first element. The second element will be a colon because we want to organize the items in a vertical sequence. So for the modifier, it will be modifier fill max height. And we'll put the elements at the center of the column. So it will be vertical arrangement dot center. Let's reformat the code. Doesn't want to do it here. I'm gonna just to do it. I will do it manually. So the first element will be the text of the TV show. It's gonna be text or the title of the TV show. So for the text, it will be TV show dot name. For the color, it will be material theme dot colors. Let's do on background. For the style, it will be material theme. Typography, let's choose, for example, a bigger text. Let's do just H4. And for the font weight, it will be a bold font weight. We have to add underneath a rating bar. So a rating bar is just a composable, a custom composable that I have included in this tutorial from the library. So this is the library that will give us the rating bar. 5 stars by default, I think, in the library. So I'm going just to implement it from scratch. So modifier, it will be modifier. Let's give a padding, especially for the vertical one. Here padding, vertical padding with 8 dp to space top and bottom at the same time. And inactive color, let's give it gray 400. For the value, so this is the value that it will be shown. So it will show the stars according to the value that we have provided. So it will be TV shows or TV show dot rating dot average dot to float. And let's divide it by 2 because we have 5 stars, because the average on 10 and we have 5 stars. So we have to divide it to give us the average on 5. And last but not least here on value change, or we're not gonna need it. And on rating change, not needed as well. The last element will be a row. So those are the types or the genres of that particular TV show. It will be TV show dot genres for each genre. So here I'm gonna add the parameter genre. For each genre, we will create for it a composable. I've already added this composable to the list of components. It's called chip. So the chip component, there's actually 2 chips. Here we have the one that I have created and the one I think provided by Jetpack. So I'm going just to use the one that I have created. Modifier dot padding. Let's add a horizontal padding. So horizontal, it will be 5 dp. And the content of this chip, simply it will be a text. So for the text, it will be the genre, and we are done building the TV show items. So let's go back to the home screen. Let's import TV show items, and I'm going just to specify the height of this item. I'm gonna give it 150 dp or 160 dp, not too big, not too small. That required height, I'm gonna give it of 150 dp, and on click we will hoist again this method. Let's call it on TV show click. So here I'm gonna add another method on TV show click. Of course we need a parameter of type long and a unit as a result type. So I'm going to replace on click here with on TV show click. So on TV show click, and the parameter will be it. Let's reformat the code. So now we are basically done loading or creating the items, but in our application we want to observe the errors as well as the loading indicator. So after items, we will add here another item at the bottom of the list that will contain that information about loading or error state. So here I will add in components a new composable. I'm gonna call it Pagination State Handler. So the Pagination State Handler will take care of this task. So we are going to create this composable in a generic manner. So here it will be of type or the data type that you want to load during pagination. So of type any, and as a parameter here, we will need a paging source state or a pagination state. So let's call it pagination state. So this pagination state will hold for us the type of, it will be of type Legion paging items of type T. We're going to need again, what is the composable that's going to be shown during loading state, and what is the composable that's going to be shown on error. So here I'm going to do here loading component. So it's going to be a composable and error component. It's going to be shown whenever we have any error. So it will be a composable as well. And we have to provide here, we have to obtain the throwable or the error to be shown in our application. So it will be, of course, let's give it here an optional parameter, and it can be null. You can set it to whatever you want, but I'm gonna do it as null. And here it's gonna be of type throwable and without a return type. So this is the syntax of our composable. So according to the paging state, we will do paging state.apply, and we will access here the load state. So we have to distinguish between the loading indicator or the loading state and the error state. So let's start with the loading state. So when, and we have cases that we have to study. So the first one, which is load state.refresh. What is load state.refresh? So basically we distinguish between 3 states. The refresh state occurs when the content is refreshed in case of content update or initial load. For the append state, it happens at the end of paging data, and the prepend state, it happened at the start of paging data. So here, let's start with the first one. If load state.refresh, so the load state is from the paging state that we will provide as a dependency in our composable. So it is loading or load states that's loading. We have to import here load states.loading. We have to study other cases for the loading states of append and prepend. So we will do here or the other case, which is loading states or load states dot append is load states dot loading, or for the last one, which is prepend. So here load state dot prepend is load state dot loading. So for the first one, which is load state dot refresh is loading, or in case of append is loading, and in case of prepend is loading, what we will do here, we will invoke the loading components. So this is for the loading components. And if we have an error, we're not going to group them inside one statement. We have to study each one separately. So if in case of load state is dot refresh is with the same thing, load state dot error, what we have to do, of course, we have to put here, kind of copy paste. This is for append, and this is for prepend. So here I have to do, we will do here error components, and if it's not null, we will invoke this this function or this composable, and we have to get the error. So how to get the error? We'll get the error from the paging states. So we have already done that. So it's gonna be just load state and dot refresh as load state dot error, and we will do finally here dot error. So with the same thing, it will be here error component if it's not null. So I'm going just to space this. So we have already obtained the load state, and this time it's going to be append. We will cast it to load state dot error, and we will obtain the error. The same thing here, it's going to be error component. That's invoke. We have the load state. That's prepend as load state dot error, and we'll invoke the error member, and we are done with the composable. So let's use this composable inside our page. Here I will do paging state handler, and we have to provide the paging state, and of course the paging state, it will be TV show state, and of course we have to provide here on loading and on error, because we want to show the error as well. So for the loading component, it will be a box. It will contain, or it will fill the max width, and let's align the contents. So alignment dot center, and for the content of the box, it will be simply a circular progress indicator. So just to align the circular progress indicator in the center. For the error components, we will add a warning message. So this is the warning message. It consists of a colon with an icon and a row and some extra information if we would like to add it to the warning message. So it will be here warning message. So for the text, it will be string resource. We will add a text from the list that we have. Okay, let's go to the string resource and let's see which text we are going to use. So for the training content, we going to put a button to allow the user to benefit from the retry capability. So the retry capability is already been implemented by the Pygin library, so you don't have to do it manually. So here, going to do training content. It's gonna be simply a text, and it's gonna be let's add clickable here, and for the action will be TV show state dot retry. So it's already been implemented for us. and for the text decoration. And we are done implementing our home screen. So let's come back to the main activity. And we have to do, of course, some minor changes here in my activity. So first of all, I will install the splash screen. Perhaps you want to add some more features to the splash screen. Just I'm gonna call install splash screen. This is not mandatory. And in set content, of course, we need to create. We are dealing with two screens basically, so we will need a nav controller as a container for the screen. We'll add here just a surface. We need to implement, of course, navigation or the nav host. The parameters we have to provide here the start destination. So for that matter, I'm going to create a sealed class that's going to contain for us our screens. Let's call it screen. That's pretty much it. And we will do here the start destination. So screen or start destination. It's going to be home screen. That's route. And the first composable will be our home screen. So composable. And I think we are done. Let's see the rest of the files. So for the shape, okay, I'm going to change here 6 and 8. We have implemented our colors. For the typography, I'm going to add the font. So this is the implementation of my typography. And I have to make some changes in theme. So for the light color theme, I specified those particular colors. For the dark color palette, I will opt for those colors, and I will change the typography here. It's gonna be, I think, nano or something like that. Nonito. I think that's pretty much it for the theme file. I will open the splash theme. I just want to make sure what is the splash logo. So we have two. Okay, this is not the splash logo that I want to show. I want to show this one, I think. Yeah, I'm going to show this splash logo. So I will come back here. I will do TV show mania splash. And I will change the height to 160. I think that's good. Let's come back to the other implementation for the 24 or for the 23 version. I will do with the same TV show mania splash and 160. I think that's pretty much it. Okay, hopefully we didn't forget anything. For the Git TV show detail, we're going to do it afterwards, after launching the application. So I think we are good to go. Let me just check the main activity. We have added okay, let's launch the application and finger crossed. Okay, here is the splash screen. And we do have, I don't know why it doesn't. So we do have the progress indicator. So there we go. We have the list of our TV shows. Let's scroll down. Application is lagging a little bit. So basically those are and the pagination is working perfectly fine. So as you can notice, we have a large data of pages or large data of TV shows. So it's not possible to load them all at once. So the pagination is pretty fast. We can't even notice the loading indicator at the bottom of the page. So this is working perfectly fine. All I want to do, let's come back at the top of the page. All I want to achieve is the TV mania should be in the center. Let's come back at the start. So I will add here a row. It's going to occupy the maximum width. Fill max width, and for the horizontal arrangement dot start, and here I would move this image inside the row to be at the start of the page. Let's run our application. So that's pretty much it. We are done. So now let's move to the next section, or the last section of this second part. I will add a new class that's going to handle for us the API calls, so we can use it inside our repository. I'm gonna call it repository helper. So the repository helper is gonna be an abstract. It's gonna have only one function. So it will be, of course, a suspending function, because the APIs are suspending function. As a parameter, it will have the function that we want to call, and this function, it is a suspending function with no parameters, and it will give us a particular result type. So for the implementation of this function, first of all, it has to return a resource of type T, the generic type, and we have to add here the generic type as well. So this will return, of course, we need a context to execute our suspending function. So the context will be the dispatchers that inputs output, and it can raise an exception. So in case of any exception, so it's going to be a throwable of T of type throwable, sorry. So here it will be a resource of type, or resource of or resource point error, and error, it will be the throwable. So inside the try block, we have to return a resource that's success, because we are in a success status, and we will return as data the API call after invoking the API call. So that's pretty much it. Let's go back to the implementation of a repository, and I'm going to add another inheritance here. It will be repository helper. That's it. And simply here it will return one thing that I've noticed in the syntax of our API. Let's go back to the API. Perhaps, so here we have a nullable. Let's come back to the interface. I have to add here nullable as well, because perhaps we are providing the wrong ID. So we have to return a nullable model. So here it will be nullable. Let's go back to the use case. So under domain and get TV show, it has to be here again, nullable. And here we will add a nullable. So it will return. I'm going to, of course, we can distinguish between three states. So it will be a val response. It will be API or invoke API, and API dot get TV show detail, and the ID equal the ID. So if it's resource of loading, we're going to do something. If it's resource of success, we will do something. If it's resource dot error, we will return or do something. So for the first one, it will of course return a result that's loading with no data, and for the other one, resource dot success, the data will be response dot data dot TV show, and of course here on error it will be a resource dot error, and the error will be the response dot error. So this is the implementation, and if you have noticed, we can read even the documentation if we highlighted the function, get the detail about a TV show with cast, and we can see what does exactly do this. But I don't know why the nullable here is not indicated. I think we have to add it here. Now we are done with the repository implementation. Let's move back to the screen. Let's add another screen here. It's going to be composable TV show detail screen. Same, it's going to be a view model. So TV show view model. You can do it here, TV show detail view model. All right, so it will be a health view model. So a TV show view model. and we will need private val the use cases, as well as another private val saved state handle to get the ID from the navigation. So I'm going to create some observables that we will need throughout, or we will need in this screen. So the first observable, we will indicate the loading. We'll need the loading indicator. It's going to be a Boolean. And as a default value, it's going to be false. It's import mutable. Another observable will be the TV show itself. So I'm going to call it TV show detail state, or just TV show detail. I'm just gonna, I don't know. You can do it as you like. So in this case, it will be TV show detail, and it will be nullable here. And as a default value, it's gonna be null. That's pretty much it. So in init function, we will get first of all the key or the ID. So string, and for the key, it will be, let's just call it TV show ID key. So remember, the TV show ID key should be the same as we have done in the declaration of our screen. So inside constant, I will do here const val. Let's go back to the screen file. Let's copy this one and paste it here. That's pretty much it. Let's go back here and import this value. And it's because it's nullable, we will do here let. So the ID will be it to long. And here we will launch, of course, our view model scope. And inside, first of all, let's set loading to true. And when finishing loading the detail, let's give it false. And in between, what we will do basically, we will use the TV show detail state, or TV show use cases, sorry, and we will call get TV show detail as a function, because we have override the operator invoke. So here it will be the ID, it will be the ID that we have obtained from saved state handle. And of course we have to assign it to TV show detail state. So here we have value response. So as you can see here, response is type of a resource, and we can do it in the same line. We're going just to do it afterwards. So it will be here when response, so is resource dot success, otherwise it will be null. So going to wrap it in a single line, and here I'm going to assign the value of states to this particular value. Here I will do response dot data, and otherwise here it has to be null. That's pretty much it. Let's reformat the code, and we are done with the repository, or with the view model. I'm going to delete this value from here because it's not needed anymore. So let's observe first of all the loading indicator. So is loading by view model dot is loading, and collect as states. The other one will be TV show detail by view model dot TV show state dot collect as state. Let's import the needed classes. So it will be a column, and it's going to occupy the max size, and let's import the modifier. So I want to achieve that even if we are still loading the TV show, can show the top bar. So I'm going to create a new composable. I'm going to call it top bar. So the top bar composable is pretty much is fairly straightforward. It has a modifier and leading icon, which is the first icon on the row, and in the middle we will have a title, and as a trailing icon, it will be a composable. It will be placed at the end of the row. So this is straightforward. And of course, here I'm going to call the top bar. So I will provide a modifier for it. Let's say here fill. So for the padding, I'm gonna give it all equal 18, for example. And for the leading icon, I don't like the way it's represented. So I think that okay, no problem. Because I prefer to do the named parameters instead of trail lambda. So it's gonna be a leading icon. Let's just do leading icon for now because we don't need actually for now the train icon. So the leading icon is gonna be a button. I'm going to create it. So I'm gonna call this composable back button or back press. It's going to handle for us the back press. So back button. So even the back button is fairly straightforward. I'm going to import here the needed classes. So basically it is a card that contains an icon, and if we are in dark theme, we're going to show this surface color. So surface color is has this color as a value, and otherwise it's gonna be the material that colors that surface. That's pretty much it, and the icon will contain the left long solid icon. So this is pretty straightforward, so I'm not going to enter in detail. And on press, I'm going to hoist this method. I'm gonna call it on back press, and I will put here on back press. That's pretty much it for the icon. And here, as I want, if it's loading, I'm going to still I will still show the I'm going to show the top bar anyway. If it's not loading, which means that we have obtained the we are downloading, of course, the data, whether we have a result or not, we will show the rest of the page. So I think we have to add here a progress indicator underneath the top bar. So it will be a box. And for the modifier, it will fill the max size. And for the content, the content alignment dot center. So we can center the elements, and the only element that we have here is the circular progress indicator. If we have the data, we will show the rest of the screen. I have to add here the vertical scroll states. So the first item will be the image. So basically it is an image, but we have the button, the back button at the top of the image. So we are talking about a box. So it will be a box with let's do here modifier, fill max width, and the required height. We have to calculate here the height of the screen. So the screen height will be calculated by local context, that's current, that's resources, that display matrix, that's height pixels, that dp divided by local density, that's current, that density. So you don't have to memorize this. You can just copy paste the code. And here I will do screen height. Let's give it a value of, let's say, 80%. So it's going to occupy 80% of the screen height. And inside the box, we will have a network image. So for the URL will be, let's say, TV show detail. And it is nullable, of course. We have to do here one more thing. TV show.detail. If it's not null, let's call here TV show. And if it's null, with Elvis operator, let's show a warning message telling the user that there is no available or that drawable or that string. Okay, I'm going to import it here. So the text that I'm going to be using is error TV show not found. That's pretty much it. So I'm going to copy the contents of the box, because we do have, in this case, TV show. So you have to bear with me. It's gonna take some time to build this page. So TV show that we have okay, image. Let's show now the original message or the original format of the image. So for the alignment, let's move the image to the top center. So alignment dot top center. Let's give it a crossfade of 1,000 second or 1 second. And for the content scale, it's going to be, of course, content scale.crop. Let's give it a modifier. It's going to fill the max size. And the loading indicator will be the circular progress indicator. And on error, it will be the icon. I'm going just to copy it from the home screen, or not the home screen, but the TV show item. That's pretty much it for the network image. And of course, the last element should be the one that should be visible, which is the back button. So here I'm going to, or the top bar, sorry. So the top bar, this will be the same thing as we have done here. So I'm just gonna copy this one and paste it here. So just to maintain the same visual. That's pretty much it for the first element. So after we are now under box. So after box underneath, we will add the text or the title of the TV show. So this is the name. I'm going to add the release date. The release date, I will copy text from here. I will modify, of course, the content first. So it will be TV show that's premiered. And we will split. The separator will be hyphen and first. And first, of course. All right, it shouldn't be, of course, it should be centered horizontally. For the padding, I don't think we are gonna need it. Can delete the padding, and it should be a caption, should be smaller, and it will be this time primary variant. Okay, the next one or the next item will be the rating bar, and that's pretty much it. The next element will be, of course, as we have done in the item or the TV show item, the rating, not the rating, but the chips of genre. So we will have to put now the title summary. So for the content, it will be, of course, a normal text. Unfortunately, in TV show summary, we have to remove the tags. So I'm going to create a helper function. I will save, or I will create all the extensions in a single file. I'm going to call it helper. So inside this file helper, I'm going to create a function. It's going to be an extension on a string data type. It's going to be called remove HTML tags. Remove HTML tags. It's going to return a string data type. I'm going to call regex to construct our regex. So the pattern to eliminate, first of all, the opening tag of an HTML. So I'm going to put the HTML opening tag. And here I will add W+ for a word. And here I'm going to do backslash with another backslash. And I'm going to add or. So now the closing of the HTML tag will be another backslash. So it's of course a slash with another backslash to escape the backslash with word plus or W+. And here I'm going to put replace with the source is the present string, and the replacement will be an empty string. So this is the remove HTML tags. I'm going to call summary.remove HTML tags. So the text won't have any HTML tag. And let's add another title. It's going to be for the cast members. And here we'll add the cast and crew. So basically this is a lazy row. So first of all, I'm going to do the horizontal arrangement. So I'm going to space elements by 10 dp. So arrangement dot space by and space equal. Next, I have to provide a modifier. This will fill max width, and let's give a padding horizontal. It will be 10 dp. So inside the lazy row, we have to provide our items. So the items are TV show dot actors, and we have to import here. So items equal TV show dot actors, and let's create a parameter here called actor. So for each actor, we will place the elements in a column. So for the column, it will be modifier equal modifier. For the required height, I'm just gonna give it 200 to allow more space for the title, and for the, of course, for the name of the actor, and for the required width, let's do it just 160 dp. The required width here, and width equal width. That's pretty much it. So for each element, so it will be a network image. Of course, for the URL, it will be actor.url or a image. And if there is an image, of course, we will show the, let's just do the thumbnail. Otherwise, if it's null with Elvis operator, I'm going to show default image. So I will create here, I have just prepared this URL in advance. So under constant here I will do. So this is the URL that will be used if we don't have any image from the API. So I'm going to import default image URL. We can just name it. Okay, I'm going to name it to another name. Default actor image URL. That's more understandable. Here, I think it's the same thing. Crossfade of 1 second. For the content scale, it's gonna be content scale. That's crop. For onloading, it will be a circular progress indicator as always. And on error, let's just use the one that we have created. That's pretty much it, and we have to paste it here. So on error, and we are done with the image. Under image, we will put here text equal actor.name, and finally we're going to add a button. Once clicking on that particular button, we will navigate, or we will open the navigator to see the TV show on the TvMaze official website. So after the row, I'm going to add here a button. So I'm going to hoist first of all this method on click. This will be on watch. Okay, on watch now. On watch now click with the TV show dot ID, or not ID. We don't need an ID actually. We need the URL. So I'm going to hoist this one first of all. The URL is a string and without a return type. And I think we are done with the TV or detail. So I'm going to remove this one. All right, let's come back to the main activity and let's add the composable. So first of all here, I'm going to do nav controller that navigate. I'm going to specify the route. So the route will be from the screen. So TV show, and here instead of it, I'm going to do ID. It will be the ID. So now we have to add another screen. So composable. The route will be screen dot TV show detail screen dot route. For the val TV show detail view model equal health TV show detail view model and TV show detail screen. So for the view model, it will be the TV show health view model. On back press, simply we will do nav controller dot pop back stack, and on watch now click, we need another value here. It's gonna be URI handler equal local URI handler dot current, and here it will be URI handler dot open URI, and for the URI it will be here. Let's just do here it. That's pretty much it. And I think we are done. Let's run the application. So we have a splash screen. And let's click on the first item, which is Kirby buckets. Okay, we have some flaws in our UI. So first of all, we have to, because we have a translucent top bar or a translucent status bar, I'm going to come back to the TV show detail here. Okay, first of all, we start with so because we are loading now, I think 18 doesn't, okay, I'm going just to do here, instead of 18, I will replace for the vertical, I'm gonna give it 25 or 24 dp, and for the horizontal, gonna do it 18. With the same here. And here I have to align the elements in the center. So modifier equal modifier, that's alignment equal alignment, that's center horizontally. Let's see the rest. Okay, we have forgot the shape, and as well as we can't see, of course, we can't see the title or the names of the actors. So here I will do, well, where is, okay, we have to add here a modifier. So after URL, I'm going to add a modifier. So fill max height. So the height should be, okay, required height. Height will be 160 to leave some space for the title. Of course, here a modifier. And we have to specify the shape. So we're going to clip the shape. So shape will be material theme dot shapes dot large. And that's pretty much it. Let's run again the application and let's see. And of course, yeah, cast and crew should be in the right, where is cast and crew, and the summary as well. I forgot this, so we have to update them. I'm going to run again the application to see the final result. So, okay, let's click on Kirby. Okay, that's pretty much, okay. We have to add just a little bit of the, here inside, instead of 20, I'm going to do 30 here and 30 here as well. Okay, and for the title, okay, nice, nice. And I think we are done. I think that's pretty much it. So I think you got the idea. So the most important thing in this tutorial, which is how to create a pager or a paging source. So first of all, you have to implement two members, the getRefreshKey, that's going to trigger the load method to give us enough information to fill our screen height with data, and the other one, which is load method. First of all, we have to obtain the current page. After obtaining the current page, we're going to get the data for that current page, and we will test if we have reached the end of pagination, but by testing whether the response, the list of data is empty or not. In case of success, we will construct the page as follow: the data, which is response that we have obtained from the API, and as soon as, because we don't want to expose TV show DTO in the view model, we will use directly the TV show model. So we will map it to model. For the previous key, if we are in current page, which is 1, we don't have any previous key or the previous page. Otherwise, it's going to be the current key -1 or the current page -1. With the same thing, if we have reached the end of pagination, we don't talk about next key or next page. Otherwise, we will get the current page +1. In case of any error, we will show the error with that exception. And inside the repository, or how to implement, or how you implement basically your repository, or directly to the view model or wherever you want, constructs a pager with a configuration with the page size, how many elements per page, and the source of the data will be the TV show or the paging source that you have implemented. And if you want to benefit from flow operators or flow in general, add here .flow. And inside the home view model, if you want to observe the states, the loading states and error states, we have created a composable for that purpose. We distinguish between 3 states. The refresh state occurs when the content is refreshed. In case of updates and initialize or initial load, the append at the end of paging data, and the prepend at the start of paging data. So in case of loading components, when we will show loading components, basically, this is the question. If the load state that will provide if it's loading, or append state is loading, or in prepend state is loading, we will show the loading components. With the same thing, we will show the error in case of refresh states, append and prepend. And of course, we have to cast that load state append to load state.error to obtain the error. You can call the retry method whenever whenever the user will obtain the error from the during pagination. So the retry method is already implemented by the paging library. So the third section, or the third episode for this tutorial, it will be how to paginate from database in accordance with API results. So basically, we're going to cache the data that we have obtained now from the API, and going to cache them, basically save them in the database, and use the pagination as well. So how we're going to do it, it's going to be the objective of the third tutorial. I hope I was helpful. It's been a pleasure sharing with you my knowledge. Take care of yourselves, and bye-bye.